Hello, welcome to Tehilra Knits. My name is Gladys. I am a knitter and crafter based out of Southern Nevada, and today we are talking about all of the summer plans. So summer knit time has arrived. Here in Southern Nevada, we have a very hot, very dry climate for the summertime, and this is actually going to be my very first summer making summer knit garments. So I am excited to kind of do some trialing and see what works for my climate. The shirt that I have on right now is actually a store-bought knit. This one's from Banana Republic. It's a linen viscose blend, and if I'd say, I feel like the fabric feels like a fingering weight, and I wear this one pretty comfortably for the most part throughout summertime. So it makes me a little bit hopeful that I might be able to get in a good amount of wear for my summer knits. And then also, summer knits are super practical for myself because I can wear them pretty much year round. Even in the winter time, I work in an office setting, clinic office setting, and I always make sure to have a short sleeve under my layers because people like to crank up the heat as high as it'll go, and that makes me feel unwell. So it's very common for me to be wearing short sleeves at work during the winter time. So I think this is my season, the season of knitting for me to shine. So I'm going to separate today's video into 3 separate categories. One, how did my spring plans go? What actually ended up getting done, and kind of a little recap on that. What I am planning on casting on, meaning that I have the yarn for and that I am hoping that I will actually get to it. And then pattern inspiration. There's so many beautiful summer patterns. I wish I could make them all, but we have to be realistic sometimes, I guess, about how much we and I am able to knit in a season. So I know most people kind of do their summer knits as like June, July, August, or I've seen some July, August, September. For me, it's because it is warm where I live, at least pretty much half of the year. For me, I'm going to focus more on May, June, July, August, and September. Those are my summer months. So I'm trying to embrace it the best that I can. So let's get started. So let's start with what happened with my spring plans. So originally on my plans, I had my tomato sweater, which is my own self-drafted raglan sweater, the Cloudy Days vest by Alicia Plummer, the movement tee by Lily Kate France, the home sweater v-neck by Caidree. This one is a gift knit for my mother. And then lastly, the moon mint from Andrea Mowry. So what ended up happening, I cast on a few of them. I did cast on my tomato sweater. That one is a work in progress. I cast on the Cloudy Day vest. That is also a work in progress, as well as the movement tee. All 3 of them are works in progress at the time. For the home sweater v-neck, I did swatch. I didn't meet gauge, and then I had to purchase the correct needle size because I didn't have it. I only have like a half set of tips, so I had to buy the correct one, and I just haven't gotten around to swatching again. And the moon mint, I have changed my mind and I have decided not to make it anymore, and I have a different plan in its place. So I'll talk more about that in a moment. But what I actually got to, I did finish up my Seaway pullover from Ozetta. I finished that early in the month of March. I finished that in March, and then at that point, I picked up a test knit that I was not expecting to get into. And then also I embarked on this baby knits project. I wanted to make a little collection of baby knits for my sister's baby shower, which will be happening in June. So I wanted to make sure that I had enough time to get all those done. So the test knit that I did was the Lusk Tee by Rebecca Clow. So technically I finished already one summer knit. I absolutely loved that t-shirt. I'll insert a picture of me wearing it. It has an option for a DK and a fingering weight. I did the fingering weight option and knitting for Olive Cotton Merino in the color mole. And I'm not sure if you can see in the pictures, I did a little bit of a contrast edge with the knitting for Olive color neon lime yellow for the little contrast bits. So a wonderful pattern. It should be released in May if I'm not mistaken. So highly recommend if you want a really well-fitting, simple t-shirt. It also has bust shaping options. I have made the size 3 with D-cup shaping. I did end up a little bit smaller. I didn't meet gauge perfectly, so my t-shirt is about an inch or inch and a half smaller than it should have been. But wonderful pattern, highly recommend. And as far as the baby knits, by the time that this video goes live, I should have finished most of them. So I have done a baby-sized sweet shop blanket from Penrose. I have done a Falsie sweater mini by Nash Knits. I have done an Olive's wrap by Knitting for Olive, which I will say has been the most frustrating pattern I have ever done. I'll talk more about that in a podcast episode. I also, from Knitting for Olive, Pernille Larsen, I did the Rail Bear Bonnet. And then I originally had intended on doing the bear suit from Knitting for Olive, but I decided I needed a break from that pattern writing style and ended up going for the Coffee Onesie by Martine Jacobson. So overall, a quite productive couple of months. So now let's move on to what I am actually hoping to get to in the summertime, which projects I'm going to carry over with, and kind of the changes that I am planning on making. Okay, so I have 2 of my works in progress that I'm planning on focusing on in these first few summer months. And one is my tomato sweater, because I do want it finished by mid-July or early July for a vacation that I will be taking to the Southern California beach. So that one does take priority. And then I would like to finish my movement tee. Now it is a DK weight t-shirt and I am knitting it in a 100% cotton from Purl Soho. I believe it's called Serif. So I'm not sure if I will be able to wear it during the summertime or if it's going to be more of like a spring and fall piece. But the only way to know is to try it out. So I'm hoping that I can finish that t-shirt in the warm months. And then I kind of want to focus on a couple of new cast-ons, which I'm limiting the number of cast-ons that I want to do. So that way I can actually get to everything. But there are 2 main cast-ons that I want to do. So first is the Palm Spring Tank by Knit California. And it is a fingering weight tank, like very a basic, slightly sporty style with these nice folded over finishes. And I am planning on, so I think it's safe to say I will be attending Flock Fiber Festival with my best friend over in Seattle in August. I am incredibly excited. I have been kind of planning and saving for this festival since like November of last year. And I'm really excited that it's actually going to be happening. The plans are actually falling through. So my best friend and I decided to make matching tanks to wear to Flock. So we decided on the Palm Spring tank. And the yarn we're actually using yarn from the same collection, just different colors. So I will be making mine in the Ruby and Roses soft rose base in the color Glow Up from her Downton Abbey collection. Now this is a stunning teal color. I think it goes really nicely with my skin tone. This color is inspired by the character Edith and her journey throughout the series. I really enjoyed this collection because I had started watching Downton Abbey for the very first time just as she started announcing these colorway collections. And by the time my yarn arrived a couple of days ago, I am almost done with the series. So it was really fun to kind of have a yarn collection accompanying me throughout watching this series, which I really have enjoyed. So I'm going to be making my Palm Spring tank in this teal color, and then my best friend ordered the color Chauffeur, which is an emerald green, also again from the same collection. So we're going to be kind of making them in tandem, and so I think it'll be really fun to have someone to kind of motivate each other and compare our notes and our progress. I think that'll be really fun. Now this is an 85 Superwash Merino 15% nylon fingering weight yarn. So I'm a little concerned again about how wool will be wearing in the summertime, but I'm mostly going to be wearing this for the Seattle trip. So Seattle should be cooler based on what I have heard. I'm not sure, but I think it'll be fine. And the festival is going to be indoors anyways. And again, I just have to try out all of these different options and see what works for my climate. So this is a plan that has a deadline. It needs to be done by the beginning of August. So this one is one that I will be casting on quite soon. Then my second plan is the Mixed Rib Cami by Florence Miller. So this is kind of, as the name says, it has mixed rib. It's a nice little tank top. I think the fit is really cute. She knits hers in Knitting for Olive merino. However, I decided to do the cotton merino. I bought some for my Lusk Tee. At the same time, I ordered this one. This is the color that I did the contrast with. So I really enjoy the cotton merino, and I think it's a really wearable fabric for me for the most part. Again, with summer knits, I feel like sometimes people have the expectation of you're going to be able to wear it all summer long, any temperature and weather. And I just don't think that's really realistic. Like, I know I'm going to be wearing my summer knits mostly indoors at work. I'm not going to be wearing them in the blasting 120-degree weather, which I try not to be in anyways. I hibernate as much as I can during the summertime here. Fun fact, I'm allergic to the sun, and I live in a blazing, sunny, hot, dry place. So summer is a fun time for me. So yeah, if these are not wearable at 110 degrees, that's perfectly fine. The reason that I want to do this one is because I have, again, I'm assuming like on the flight to Seattle. So I think that'll just be like a really nice little portable project to take. So that's the main reason for this one. I don't think I'm going to cast it on right away, but I would like to finish it in the warmer months. Then moving on to what projects I want to kind of do while I'm filling in the gaps. So if I get the chance, and kind of just depending on how I'm feeling about knitting in hot weather, I might try and cast on the home sweater v-neck. That is going to be done with the knit in Isayer Alpaca 3. So it's a 50% wool, 50% alpaca yarn, and that one is for my mother. I will be gifting it to her for Christmas, but I have some pretty lofty gifting plans for Christmas, so I kind of wanted to get a head start on it. So I'll kind of see when I get around to casting that one. And my Cloudy Day vest, I kind of feel like that one's going to be like a late summer into fall project because it is a DK weight merino. Even though it is a vest, there's no way I can wear a DK weight merino in the summertime, so I'm not really in a rush to finish that one. But, you know, it is there in my whip pile. And then my change of plan for the Moon Mint. So I even purchased the pattern, which is why I don't purchase my patterns ahead of time, because things can change. But anyways, I came across this pattern. Well, I came across, first of all, the designer, Teti Lutsak. She is a Ukrainian designer based out of the Netherlands, I believe. So she has and she has said that, you know, her patterns are very folklore, very like boho folk, I guess is what I'm trying to say. And they are inspired in her Ukrainian heritage. So I have been in love with her patterns lately and really want to have quite a few of them that I have my eye on. So I kind of realized that the yarn that I had for the Moon Mint, which is the Woolberry Co. linen sock, which is a 50% alpaca, 25 silk, 25 linen blend in a fingering weight. I think this is the color Island, I believe. And then the contrast color was going to be the Knitting for Olive pure silk in the color olive. I realized I could use these exact same yarns and the same quantities to do her Candelaria blouse, which I think is so beautiful. And I love the drapiness of it, and I feel like these would give a good drape. I've never done color work, let alone color work in a plant-based yarn. So this might be a disaster, but it might turn out really cool. If you guys have, my understanding is that because plant-based yarns don't bloom and like plump up as much as animal-based fibers, you can really see the tension discrepancies in color work. So I have no idea how that's going to work out, but if I can make it work, I feel like a blouse in this fabric would be really wearable pretty much all year long for me. So I am quite motivated to give it a shot and to hopefully make it work. If you guys have any color work suggestions or tips for me, please leave them down below. I would appreciate that so much. But that is kind of a rather ambitious project that I would like to do. And again, I can work on this in warmer months or kind of push it closer to the fall. It doesn't really matter. And another little project that I have that is not knitting is actually some embroidery. So my sister gifted me a little embroidery kit that she had bought for herself, but she never did. She is not a crafty person, so let's just put it that way. So she realized that she was never going to do it and gave it to me. It is from Rosanna Diggs, if I remember correctly. I cannot find where, I don't remember where I put this kit. And it's not in like my usual crafting supply spaces, so I have to hunt it down, but I know I have it somewhere in my home. And it's just like a little kit. I'll see if I can find a picture and pop it up, but I feel like that would be a nice little interjection or break for if knitting in the summer is just too hot and too uncomfortable. I figured that that would be a good little break. And I kind of have some more embroidered things I would like to embroider. I would like to do like a cross-stitch tote bag, but the fact that I have to buy materials and new supplies and things like that kind of deters me from starting those projects. But you never know, maybe the summertime is a good time to do a little bit more embroidery and things like that and not be so heavy on the knitting. So we'll just see how that plans out. But I kind of have that as a little backup project. And one more project that I forgot to mention, I have kind of been itching for some crochet. So I came across this pattern. It is called the Stoll Hat by Yamagara. And it is a nice little crochet bucket hat made in the Japanese style paper yarn. So I just thought that was super cute. So I have ordered some yarn for it in this really nice, like lilac-y, pinky kind of color. I'll pop a picture of it here because I haven't quite yet received it. But it's on its way. It is 100% cotton. It is from Purl Soho, but it is made in Japan in that cotton paper linen style yarn. So I figured that it would be an appropriate yarn for this. It is, I kind of wanted like a royal blue like is in the sample, but the colors were a bit limited and I was kind of having a hard time of finding, I really wanted this Japanese style paper yarn for it. So I ended up settling for that pink color, which is also still really cute. And I do wear hats pretty much anytime I leave my house in the summertime. Again, sun allergy problems. So I just thought that that would be a cute little like dopamine project. So now let's move over to the pattern inspiration. Okay, so for the pattern inspiration, there actually are a couple of them that I do have yarn for and that I plan on making, but I didn't put them as like my absolute will knits just because I didn't want to place too much pressure on myself. And I really wanted to kind of catch up on the spring plans that I kind of didn't get around to. But if I have, extra time, I have a couple of more projects ready to go. First, I have to recommend the Lusk Tee by Rebecca Clow. It was just chef's kiss. Her pattern writing style. This is the first time I've done a pattern by Rebecca Clow, and it was perfect. The simplicity of it, well fitting pattern. It's really easy to kind of add in extra modifications. So a modification that I did, I added like little columns of slip stitches on the side. I'll put a picture of it in better detail. So I think it's a good base pattern. So I highly recommend if you are in the hunt for a good basic t-shirt. Then the next pattern that I have on my list is the 4 Season Tanks by Celine Phaeton. By Celine Phaeton. This is actually a new release and it is a 3-in-1 pattern. So it has essentially 3 different tanks for the price of a single pattern. There is a ribbed version, there is a cabled version, and there is a lace version. Now, the one that really caught my eye was the cabled version, which is odd because I wouldn't necessarily think of cables in the summertime, but I thought it was really cute and I just think that it fits quite well. Now, I will have a lot of, maybe not a lot, but I'll have probably close to 150 grams left over of this knitting for Olive, or not 150, I'll have a little over 100. I should have maybe 115, 120 grams, which should be plenty for this tank in this pure silk olive color. Now, I don't know how well cables will hold up in pure silk, TBD on that, but if not, I would definitely do the lace version. So I thought that this is a really good bang for your buck, and has quite an extensive bust circumference from 23.25 inches all the way up to 58.25 inches, and it is designed to be worked with 20% negative ease. And she does have quite a bit of explanation in the pattern listing on how to get the correct negative ease and kind of how to adjust that depending on if you want to do the cables versus the ribbed and kind of things to keep in mind. So that is a pattern that is on my wish list. The next one that I also have yarn for is the Amaretta blouse by Isabella Clarke. Now, I think that this is the loveliest little dainty little blouse. I would definitely make mine with the buttons because it does have the option of just, knitting it in the round as a blouse and omitting the buttons. It is a fingering weight, which is why I think it would be really practical. And I think that this would be a nice little polished piece to wear to work. The yarn that I would use for this is another yarn from the Downton Abbey collection from Ruby and Roses. This is the color Commitment Moment. It's a beautiful, like purpley wine. It has a little bit of pinky purple. It has more purple leaning in it than red. And this is the same base as the one I previously mentioned, the 85 Superwash Merino 15% nylon. So this is the yarn that I would use for that blouse when the time comes. Like I said, it's a fingering weight, and the bust circumferences range from 28 inches all the way to 60 inches and is designed with 0 to 2 inches of negative ease. I think that's a really cute little dainty project. And you can also make a long sleeve version, which I would also be interested in doing for like the fall, winter time as well. Okay, the next pattern on my radar is the Woolahara Tee by Marzena Koloczek. Now this is a really pretty lace short sleeve t-shirt with some positive ease, which makes it, more floaty and drapey. The color that she made her sample with flatters her blonde hair and her skin tone so beautifully. It's one of the colors, bubblegum pink is one of those colors that I think looks beautiful on people, but it's not my color. It's not for me, but I think it's a beautiful color. So that is made in fingering weight. She knits hers in Sandusgarn Mandarin Petite, which is a fingering weight cotton, if I'm not mistaken. So you'll see all of the recommended t-shirts or patterns that I have are all fingering weight, which is more so sometimes than fiber content. I feel like the thickness of the finished garment is super important as to its wearability. So I'm sticking to fingering weight for garments for the summertime. Now, from here on out, I don't have chosen yarns for these items, but maybe at Flock, when I go to Flock, I can pick up some summer project quantities, which is like about 200 grams. So I'm going to keep my eye out for more summery yarns and blends and things like that. So this is a t-shirt that I would love to make at some point in time. Let's see. Oh, this one's worked bottom up. So that's something to note, because I agree with everybody that bottom up sometimes is not as fun, I guess, as doing top down. And the sizing for this one ranges from 29.5 inches to 72.75 inches with a recommendation of 4.5 inches of positive ease. So that is a very cute little option to consider. So next I have the Lila top by Caidree. So this is a tank fingering weight knit up in Pasquale, Nepal. I haven't tried Pasquale yarns yet, but I have heard really good things about them. But this is a tank. I kind of like how it has that like squared off fit and kind of connects here at the shoulders. So I think that is very cute. And the sizing for this one goes from 29.5 all the way up to 54 inches. And the ease is recommended 0 to 2.5 inches of positive ease. So I think that's a very wearable top, and even more so if you're doing it in a summery, more plant-based or plant-blended yarn. That is a nice little classic option. And then I have 2 patterns by Camille K. So first is the Strawberry Fields top, which is a tank that has a little bit of cabling, or is it lace? No, it's lace stitch. Oh yeah, it is lace. For a moment I thought it was cables, but it has some lace. I like the squared off neckline. I think a square neckline is always very flattering. And slightly thicker straps. I do prefer thicker straps in general because I'm not supposed to wear spaghetti straps to the office. So like this, I wouldn't wear this to the office. But if it has a little bit more of a substantial strap, I feel like it is just so much more versatile. And at least for myself, I could wear it to work, which is where I would realistically wear a lot of these knit pieces. So this is a nice little textured tank, which would use very little yarn. The first 2 sizes you can make with just 100 grams. I think she has Knitting for Olive Pure Silk as her recommended yarn. So just 100 grams of yarn would be really good. Even for the 2 middle sizes, it's 150 grams. And even for the largest sizes, it's only 200 grams. So that's my favorite thing about summer projects, is that they're quite yarn economical compared to winter sweaters or full sweaters. So let's see what the sizing is for this one. It has, this one's in centimeters. So from centimeters, it ranges from 70 to 111 centimeters. And the recommendation for negative ease is 5 to 14 centimeters of negative ease. So that's another one to keep in mind. And then the last one that I have on my list is the Be Mine Tulip Top, also by Camille K. This one is a sport weight, so it's a little bit more, a little bit thicker than the other ones. However, this is open lace pattern, so you do get more breathability. Now, with this one, you're going to be able to see your undergarments, whatever bra you choose to use. So it's kind of up to each person if you're okay with that, or if you would layer a tank underneath it, or, kind of what you want, how you want to wear it. But again, I like that it has those thicker straps, which makes it wearable. And I really just like the button fronts. I'm having a moment with button front tanks, vests, blouses. I just think it's really cute. Maybe it's not as fun to have to knit flat as opposed to in the round, but I think the finished look is worth it. So this one has a V-neck, and like everything, I'm sure that you could modify it to not have the buttons and just do it in the round. So that's an option. So this one has her sizing from 80 centimeters to 121. And then for ease, she recommends between 3 centimeters of negative ease to 5 centimeters of positive ease. So a little bit more flexibility on how tight fitting you want your garment to be. So that is all I have for you. Those are all of my hot weather crafting plans. Feel free to share in the comments what your plans are, or if you have any suggestions or comments on summer knitting in general. I would love to hear your thoughts. Don't forget to subscribe, and if you found this video fun or helpful, don't forget to hit that like button, and I will see you in the next one. Bye.